Let's have a laugh at your expense, shall we? Remember, they're just jokes. Just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up. I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
Ricky Gervais stepped onto that Golden Globe stage like a man on a mission, ready to rip into everything we've all been rolling our eyes at for years. Hollywood elites, hypocrites, woke culture, a joke. And he didn't hold back. He tore through the room, calling out the absurdity of being woke while working for companies that exploit workers. He even poked fun at the ridiculousness of identity politics, leaving the crowd squirming in their seats. But here's the real question. Are we too sensitive to laugh at the truth anymore?
It was a Caitlyn Jenner joke, right? Oh, outrage on Twitter the next day. And by outrage, I mean a couple of people going, it was transphobic. It wasn't transphobic in the slightest. It was a joke about a trans person, but the joke had nothing to do with that aspect of her existence. Mate, I've changed. Not as much as Bruce Jenner.
Ah, the Caitlyn Jenner joke. Possibly one of Ricky Gervais' most infamous moments on stage. It wasn't just a joke. It was like lighting a firecracker in a room full of people waiting to get offended. The setup was classic Ricky. He poked fun at Caitlyn Jenner's transition, but with a twist that made everyone sit up and either laugh or get their keyboards ready for an online war. Here's the deal though. The joke wasn't about Jenner's gender identity. It wasn't a transphobic jab, as many quickly labeled it. The punchline was about a different stereotype altogether. Women being bad drivers, drawing on an old joke format. And the target? Celebrity culture. Ricky was making fun of how someone so celebrated could, accidentally kill someone with their car and still be hailed as a hero. But the internet? They missed the point entirely, turning the whole thing into an attack on transgender issues.
Thing made by a company that runs sweatshops in China. So, well, you say you're woke, but the companies you work for, I mean, unbelievable. Apple, Amazon, Disney. If ISIS started a streaming service, you'd call your agent, wouldn't you? So, if you do win an award tonight...
Ricky's genius lies in his ability to layer jokes. He gives you what looks like an offensive punch, but if you listen, it's more a critique of how we put celebrities on pedestals. And even when the online outrage exploded, labeling him as transphobic, did he back down? Not. Ricky doesn't retreat when he knows he's hit a nerve in just the right way. He fired back with his usual wit, making it clear that people had confused the subject of the joke, Caitlyn Jenner, with the target, celebrity hypocrisy. Offended? Sure, some were. But did that stop the joke from being hilarious? Not. And that's what sets Gervais apart. He's not here to coddle feelings, especially when there's comedy gold to be mined from our over-the-top reactions to things like this.
And that's the other thing about offense. People get offended when they mistake the subject of a joke with the actual target, and they're not necessarily the same. I'll tell you the joke, you make your own minds up, right?
One of Ricky's most consistent messages is this: just because you're offended doesn't mean you're right. Think about it. Offense is entirely personal. What one person finds hilarious, another might find offensive. But does that mean we should shut down every joke that someone might not like? Ricky's philosophy says otherwise. In today's world, it feels like we're walking on eggshells, terrified of saying the wrong thing because someone, somewhere might find it offensive. But according to Ricky, offense is a feeling, not a fact. And feelings? They're subjective. Some people might be offended by peanuts, but are we banning peanut butter for everyone? Not. That's the kind of overreaction Ricky just can't get on board with.
I hate it when people say, that joke was offensive. I gotta say, no, you've got to say, you found it offensive, because it's all about feelings, and feelings are personal. And there's loads of types of comedy, and comedy evolves, There's a new type of comedy at the moment called woke comedy, right? No, it's...
In the hypersensitive culture we live in today, it's almost impossible to tell a joke without someone getting their feelings hurt. But Ricky's whole point is that if we cater to everyone's delicate sensibilities, we'll end up with nothing but bland, lifeless humor. He encourages people to laugh at the joke, even if it stings a little. After all, isn't that the beauty of comedy? It pushes boundaries, makes you uncomfortable, and forces you to think. Ricky's all about challenging people to step out of their safe zones, laugh a little, or a lot, and not take everything so damn seriously.
offensive, you know. There are some clubs now where the comedian has to sign a thing saying he won't say anything contentious or he won't say anything that could offend anyone. It's a safe space for the audience, woke comedy. And I tried to watch a bit of it, and I decided I'd rather watch Louis C.K. bait.
Ricky doesn't hold back when it comes to calling out the absurdity of woke comedy. In his eyes, it's like a watered-down version of what comedy is supposed to be, a punchline with a safety net. Woke comedy is so sanitized that it often feels like the joke is apologizing before it even gets to the punchline. Where's the fun in that? It's like eating gluten-free pizza when you're not even allergic. What's the point? Ricky once joked that woke comedy was so bland, he'd rather watch Louis C.K. Yep, even in the middle of that controversy. The point is, edgy comedy makes you think, makes you uncomfortable, and sometimes it pisses you off. But that's where the magic happens.
If you're the type of person to revel in someone getting cancelled for something they said 10 years ago, you're just ensuring that one day you'll be cancelled for something you said today. You can't predict what will be offensive in the future. You don't know who the dominant mob will be. You know, like the worst thing you can say today, get you cancelled on Twitter, death threats, whatever. The worst thing you can say today is women don't have
The thing with woke culture is that it wants to box comedy in, making sure nobody's feelings are hurt. But Ricky believes real comedy needs to push boundaries, not tiptoe over them. It's about taking risks, crossing lines, and seeing how far you can go before someone gasps. Safe jokes just don't cut it for Ricky. If you're not making people squirm in their seats, are you even doing comedy? He's all about delivering those "did he just say that?" moments, because that's when people truly start thinking. Ricky Gervais is one of the few comedians who dare to wade into the minefield of identity politics, and boy, does he do it with style.
The old-fashioned women. Oh, God. You know, the ones with wombs. Oh.
His now famous wombs joke is the perfect example. He's talking about old-fashioned women, you know, the ones with wombs, and then dives into the absurdity of modern gender debates, joking about new women with beards and, well, other male anatomy. It's a sharp critique of how ridiculous the conversation around identity politics has become, and Ricky delivers it with his signature deadpan humor.
Old-fashioned with it. And now the old-fashioned, they go, oh, they want to use our toilets. Why shouldn't they use your toilets? For ladies. They are ladies. Look at their pronouns. What about this person isn't a lady? Well...
What makes it work so well is that Ricky isn't malicious. He's just honest. He points out the absurdity in a way that makes you laugh and nod along, because some of these debates have gone off the deep end. It's not about hating anyone or dismissing real struggles. It's about shining a spotlight on how far the conversation has strayed from common sense. Ricky's ability to joke about such sensitive topics without coming off as cruel is exactly why he resonates with so many people. He's laughing at the situation, not at individuals. And let's be real, it's hard not to laugh with him. The man's got a point. Sometimes, the only way to handle absurdity is to laugh at it.
Don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So, if you win, right?
Ricky's takedown of Hollywood elites at the Golden Globes is the stuff of legend. He stood in front of the very people who often preach about morality, justice, and doing the right thing, and tore into their hypocrisy without batting an eye. These are the same celebrities who love to deliver sanctimonious speeches about being woke and socially conscious, while at the same time cashing checks from companies that run sweatshops or exploit workers. And Ricky didn't let them forget it.
Thank your agent and your God and okay? So...
Ricky's sense of humor hits hardest when he points out how far woke culture will go to tick its diversity boxes, and his joke about the in memoriam segment is pure gold. He quipped that they didn't run it because the list of people who died wasn't diverse enough. Too many white people. Now, think about that for a second. We're talking about people who've passed away, and yet somehow woke culture finds a way to make even death about a diversity checklist. Ricky calls it like it is. Ridiculous.
We were going to do an in memoriam this year, but when I saw the list of people that had died, it wasn't diverse enough. It just, no.
The joke works because it highlights the absurd lengths some people will go to in order to ensure everything meets some arbitrary standard of diversity. It's a critique of how this obsession with inclusion can creep into places where it just doesn't belong. We're talking about the memorials of real people, and yet the conversation becomes about whether or not the lineup of the deceased was diverse enough. It's insane. And Ricky nails it by pointing out just how far this cultural insanity can go. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.